So the weekend saw scores of members of the United States Congress waving not the American flag, no, the Ukrainian flag inside our Capitol, celebrating the passage of another $95 billion in foreign aid orchestrated by Speaker Mike Johnson, a guy who, like I said, I had a lot of hope for. It includes $61 billion or more for Ukraine, $26 billion or more for Israel, $8 billion or more for Taiwan, and a TikTok ban. Woo, what a bargain. It might also end the road for Speaker Mike Johnson, clearly. Another Republican has now expressed interest in ousting the leader, in addition to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, who kickstarted the effort in Congress. Here's Representative Corey Mills.
I'm sure you're all as disgusted as I am with witnessing the flying of the Ukrainian flags on the U.S. Congressional Chamber. I want to be clear that the only flag that should ever be flown in our Congress, on our floor, in our chamber, should be the American flag. You know, I wish that so many of them who supported the Ukrainian funding for their border and for their country cared as much about America to fly proudly the American flag when we vote on border security like H.R. 2. It is a sad day in Congress. It is a sad day in America when people proudly fly the flag of a foreign nation in our United States chamber.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly agree more. Joining me live to discuss this, former Congressman, Dallas County GOP Chair, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Colonel, look, I'm seeing those Ukrainian flags fly in our Congress. You served this country proudly. Well, how does that impact you when you see something like that?
Well, it's a slap in the face, because what this legislature is supposed to be doing is passing bills and legislation that ensure the protection of the American people, our national sovereignty being number one. And let me remind you that you also have a member of our Congress from the state of Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, who flies the flag of a terrorist organization outside of her office. So we have some people that have some misplaced priorities and loyalties. And when I think about what just happened over the weekend, it just shows once again that the Democrat Party, who dismissed the charges against the impeachment charge against Alejandro Mayorkas, they don't think that we have a problem with our border. We have more people, single military age males here in the United States of America that pose a dangerous threat, and terrorists as well. We have people shout death to America, but it's more so important seeing billions of dollars to Ukraine than protect our own sovereignty.
We talked about this in the break a little bit because somebody here on the live feed made the point. How much does $1 billion buy when you're just buying bullets? I mean, how many pallets of bullets can you get? Because we heard, the senator there, Mark Warner, say, they were rationing bullets, only had, a few a day. Come on.
No, that's unconscionable. It is foolish what Senator Warner said. You could buy just countless amounts of ammunition, small arms ammunition, 7.62, the PKM ammunition, RPGs even, because those are not very expensive, pieces of ammunition. But the thing is this, Steve, if we would just go back to being energy independent, if we would go back to shipping our liquefied natural gas and making sure that Europe was not dependent upon Vladimir Putin, we would undermine his economic ability to put an army into the field. But yet that's not something that this administration wants to talk about. And for whatever reason, Mike Johnson is not pushing that issue.
Yeah, but the biggest issue for Americans that I talk to, listen to, $95 billion, and you couldn't find a few $1 billion laying around to secure our southern border, to hire a new wave of border security in the name of officers or fencing or walls or whatever. Please, Mike Johnson said he would never allow this to happen. That was the leverage point. There is no leverage point anymore. It's over.
No, it is absolutely over. And that's one of the things that I just don't understand how, the Republicans always roll over. And when you look at Democrats, when they're in the minority, they're tenacious. When they're in the majority, they're tyrants. And so this would not be about getting more Border Patrol agents down there to just continue to be caretakers and continue to process people. It would be about them doing their job and securing our border. We need ICE to go out there and do their job in deporting people out of the United States of America. And again, that's the number one issue that Americans are concerned about in this 2024 election cycle. And Mike Johnson and a number of Republicans just dismissed it.
Yeah, my best guess here, Colonel, and you tell me if I'm just completely out to lunch here. My best guess here is this war is going to end the way I always thought it was going to end. Russia's going to take 2 or 3 provinces on the eastern end of Ukraine, and some sort of treaty is going to be signed, and that'll be the end of it. And then BlackRock and State Street and all these others are going to get tens of billions of dollars to go rebuild Ukraine, again, while we get nothing here at home. I mean, that's how I think it's going to end. I don't think that Vladimir Putin's going to go and attack a NATO country. I don't think he wants Article 5 imposed upon him for any reason. Am I naive?
No, you're not naive. And I think that this goes back to the Obama administration when he initially made those incursions into Ukraine. He took the Crimea and several of those eastern provinces, and he's not going to, look to give any of that terrain back. And you have a World War I stalemate that is there right now. And then, of course, on the other side, Zelensky and the Ukrainians, they don't want to give up their territory. So at some point in time, we have to be able to broker something that says, much the same as you see in Korea, there has to be a DMZ that is there and, keeps any side from making any further incursions or advances, what have you. But again, we've got to put America first, and that's not what the Congress did this past weekend.
That's exactly right. I mean, Crimea, they as a whole wanted to be part of Russia. That's what everybody understood. It was Russian territory, always was historically. So are those 3 provinces on the east end of Ukraine. They identify as being Russian. Let me ask you this quite simply. Who is a bigger threat to us today? Those sitting in Beijing or those sitting in Moscow?
Without a doubt, China is our number one geopolitical foe. And what we need to do, first of all, undermine someone like Russia economically. We need to make sure that we are undermining Iran. And it comes back again to oil and gas. And this Biden administration has decimated our oil and gas industry and, bolstered that of Iran so that they can support Russia and Russia can support themselves with the liquefied natural gas that we have pushed people to be dependent upon them on. And, of course, China is defeating us economically. So, again, I think that you have to be very careful. World War II, the Sudetenland, we don't want to have that repeat where we continue to appease a dictator like they did with Hitler.
No.
But I don't think you're going to go any further than the Crimea and these provinces, and I think that needs to be made very clear to Vladimir Putin. But let's undermine his economy and his energy sector.
Well, we should do the same thing to Iran. But we released the sanctions on Iran selling oil. They sell 2 million barrels a day to the Chinese, who pay for all of their infrastructure and pay for them to support the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas. Yes. When Robert Gates says Joe Biden was wrong about every single foreign policy idea he had for 40 years, now it's been about 45, and he's a complete failure. Yeah. I give you the last word.
Well, the last word is very simple. When you look at what is happening in the Middle East, again, it is about not enriching our enemies. When Joe Biden came into office, Iran was virtually economically bankrupt. They had less than $5 billion of cash reserves. Now they're rolling in cash. You look at what was happening with our own energy independence. He decimated that. Russia has increased their ability to go out and wage wars, and China is growing as well. So this, as you saw with those Ukraine flags, these people do not care about the American people and American policies, and we continue to see more folks come across our border illegally, and they are a threat to our national security and domestic security.
They certainly are. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you.
God bless. Thank you, Steve.
God bless you, my friend, and keep the faith.